Hello, I'm Brenda Martin with Inside Huntsville. The purpose of the show is to inform you, our viewing audience, about the services available through the many departments that we have in the city of Huntsville. Today we're highlighting one of the busiest departments in the city of Huntsville, community development. We'll talk today with Kenneth Benion, director of this very active department, and Keith Atchley, who is the manager of the Code Enforcement Division. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So glad to have you. Ken, you've been with the city some, 4.5 years?
4.5 years.
And where did you come from?
I came from Birmingham. I worked several years with the city of Birmingham in the finance department. Actually, my background is accounting. And I worked also with Jefferson County and the city of Fairfield before I came to the city of Huntsville.
Okay, so you've been in city government.
Yes, I've been in government well over 20 years.
Well, you are managing a very busy department in the city of Huntsville, community development.
Yes, we get quite a few calls, especially in code enforcement, and Keith will talk about that also.
Exactly. Well, what is the mission? Tell us what the mission is of the community development department.
Basic mission of community development is the stabilization of neighborhoods, and that's through providing decent housing, suitable living environments for low and moderate income families and individuals, as well as expanding economic opportunities for low and moderate individuals.
Mm-hmm. How many employees do you have to manage all of this?
Right now we are at 26 employees.
You talked about low-income housing. What's the funding sources for the community development?
Most of our funds come from the federal government. We receive funds from HUD, which would be Community Development Block Grant funds. We get about $1,080,000 annually, and that changes each year with the appropriations from Congress, but about $1,080,000 from through the Community Development Block Grant Fund. We also get home funds.
Well, before you go there, tell us a little bit more about Community Development Block Grant. What does that mean?
Essentially, it's just a set-aside funding from Congress, and it's various things that you qualify for with CDBG funds, as we refer to it. You could do anything from putting in sewers, sidewalks, to improving a park, a community center. We use the funds for things such as weatherization programs. We use it to partially finance our code enforcement division. So it's various things that you can use community development block grant funds.
Talk about the
weatherization program.
Thank you. You can say that better than I. Okay.
we partner with a lot of nonprofit organizations. In the particular weatherization program, we partner with Community Action Partnership.
Oh, okay.
And what we do is for individuals who qualify or families who qualify, who meet a certain income criteria, we'll go in, and there's a waiting list for this, but go in and do a complete energy audit of their house and determine what the needs are to make it more energy efficient. And then we'll go in possibly and do improvements to the house to bring it up to energy efficiency. And you average about a $450 annual savings for anyone who's gone through this program.
So you have to qualify for this?
Yes. Everything we do basically is based on qualifications income-wise. There's a maximum income that you can make in order to qualify for the program. It would depend on the number of individuals in the family, but it could go anywhere from the median income for this area is about $69,300.
Okay.
For a household of one person, the maximum income limit would be $39,050. Say as for a family of four, it could be about $55,750. So it's just based on the number of individuals in the family.
Okay.
Right.
You talked about another program that you had called Home.
Yes, Home is a program that we use to provide affordable housing. We build new houses in certain communities. We provided home funds to combined with other federal programs such as the low-income housing tax credit program to do multifamily housing, senior apartments, and apartments that, one, it's a subsidized amount that you would pay in rent in order to qualify for this program. We also use home funds for a down payment assistance program. The down payment assistance program will provide $5,000 to a first-time home buyer who meets the qualifications and help them to get into that house. The $5,000 is a grant. It's forgivable over 5 years. So if you stay in the house for 5 years, there's nothing that you have to repay.
You don't have to pay that back.
Right. If you leave before that 5 years, then it's 20% each year is forgiven. So if as an example, if you stayed 3 years, then you would owe 40% of that $5,000 back. So it would be $2,000 coming back.
Well, let's talk about how many homes have you built under this
Under the
system?
home program, currently we have completed 17 new homes that are occupied at this point. We have under construction right now 3, and we expect to start construction on 3 more within the next month or so.
Are you at liberty to say where they are?
These houses, yes.
Okay.
These houses are located in the Terry Heights community.
Oh, how wonderful.
Right. And so ultimately we would probably, within the next 2 to 3 years, we expect to put about 30 new homes in that community.
In that community?
Yes. We also started our first home probably in July, which will be in the Low Mill area. And we hope to spark redevelopment of that area with putting new homes in that area.
Now, who owns the land?
The land actually is, we work with a non-profit by the name of Family Services Center.
Okay.
They purchase the land, and then we also go and we bid out, we go through a bidding process to see which contractor is going to build the houses. Right now we're working with a company called Pacific, and they received the bid. So the property is purchased by Family Services, and then once the house is constructed, the individuals are expected to get a mortgage on their own, so they have to meet certain credit qualifications. The houses sell for about anywhere from $65,000 to $70,000, and this would be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Hardwood floors in the living and dining area. All of the appliances are included. Privacy fence, sodded front and backs to houses, security systems. And we're very proud of the houses that we've done so far. And actually we've had quite a bit of success with these houses. Generally, before they're completed, they're sold.
And how do people hear about this, about the availability of the homes?
Well, we advertise through the normal real estate channels. We have real estate agents who we bring in, and they learn about the program so that they can steer clients who meet these criteria or meet the criteria to the houses and so forth. Yes.
I did have a chance to, I think you and I did it together over in Terry Heights.
Right.
Beautiful homes, beautiful homes. So, ESG.
ESG is Emergency Solutions Grant, formerly known as Emergency Shelter Grant.
Okay.
This would be funding that we would receive from the state that comes from the federal government. It's passed through ADECA. We receive about $200,000 in ESG funding each year. This is used for our homeless activities to, one, support organizations such as the North Alabama Coalition for the Homeless. We also put money into homeless shelters such as crisis services, New Futures homeless shelter. And I like to talk about New Futures because when we started here, I wasn't aware that there are very few shelters that will take a family that's an intact family.
Yes.
In other words, when a family, say if it was a mom and 2 kids, one of the kids was a male and he was 13 years old, then he was required to go to the adult men's shelter. So that kept a lot of families from going into the shelter because they didn't want their 13-year-old, 14-year-old son being in the men or the adult men's shelter. So New Futures came along and we decided to partner with them. They will take an intact family And so they have a bedroom possibly for a mom and a husband, or a father and a wife, and then they would have smaller bedrooms for the kids. And we were real happy to work with them on that effort.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that New Futures is up and running.
But the emergency shelter grant is used to assist with homelessness. We also have some instances where we can pay if somebody is to help prevent homelessness, such as if a family is about to be put out. In certain instances, we can pay rent because we figure if we can prevent them from becoming homeless, then that helps with the situation. We can pay utilities in certain situations, but as you know, $200,000 with the number of homeless individuals that we have in the area doesn't go a long way, but we try to leverage those with other funds to make these things happen.
And I guess you're also focusing on the homeless with families.
Well, that's part of it, but we also deal with individuals.
Individuals
Yes.
as well?
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the other community development programs that you're involved in?
Well, we support with community development block grant funds. We support the Boys and Girls Club. As I said, we support North Alabama Coalition for the Homeless. We redid a park up in North Huntsville, Lakewood Park.
Okay.
And we actually wrote a grant through Kaboom to get playground equipment, and then we came back and we put in a walking trail. We put in a couple of pavilions, and we also put in tennis courts. So those are the first new tennis courts in the North Huntsville area in several years.
And where are they?
Lakewood
located?
Park.
In Lakewood. Okay,
Yes.
right. Okay, great, great.
Okay. We have taken funds and we've created what we call the North Alabama. We're partnering with another nonprofit, the North Alabama Revolving Loan Funds. This is to help individuals start businesses. Loans up to, it's a micro loan program up to $50,000. There, you have to have a business plan, and it has to be vetted. And there's a loan committee that determines if you will get the loan. If you're not ready for the loan, then we can refer you to places like the Women's Business Center to get the training necessary that will probably put you in a better position towards achieving the loan.
Wonderful. Now, what are the target areas?
Our basic target areas, and these target areas have been established for several years, would be Edmonton Heights, Meadow Hills, Low Mill, and Cherry Heights.
Okay.
But as the criteria and the population changes and new census comes in, we are getting ready to go into what we call our consolidated plan. Our consolidated plan will take us through the next 5 years of how we plan to spend the federal funds that we receive, what the needs are in the community as far as housing, as far as poverty, and so forth. And those target areas could possibly change when this consolidated plan is put together.
Wonderful. One of the areas that you also that also comes under the umbrella of community development is code enforcement.
Right. Code enforcement is a major part of what community development does. It's the front line of stabilizing neighborhoods. And Keith here is our code manager, and he can tell you all you want to ever know about code enforcement.
For sure. Keith, welcome, and thanks for being here with us.
Thank
Keith,
you,
how long have you been with the city?
I've been
Long
with the
time.
city just over 23 years.
Oh, just a few years. Okay.
It doesn't seem that long, but it has been.
Can you briefly explain the overall function of the Code Enforcement Department?
Yeah, basically what we do is we try to utilize the codes to maintain property values, eliminate blight, sort of helps to keep the crime element out of neighborhoods. We want to keep the areas clean. It also helps overall to maintain the property values. So we try to keep the neighborhoods clean, keep a good eye on them, and help out with the property values.
Now, how many people do you have in your division?
Total, there's 17 of us in our staff, and I like to commend my staff. They do a great job. There's 16, not including myself, and for the volume of work we put out and the amount that they do each year, it's amazing what they get out there and do. And I have a really good staff. They're well trained, and and they do the best they can to work well with the public. They do a great job. I'm really proud of the staff.
Proud
that
of
we've
them,
assembled.
sure. Tell us a little bit about the process of condemning a property, because I know that you do a lot of that.
Yeah, we do. Unfortunately, the properties that are condemned basically are properties that are not habitable for people to live in. Could have certain conditions, could have electrical problems, could have leaky roofs where it's getting in the electrical system, fire damaged properties. Properties you're not able to occupy a property if you don't have active utility service. So that's one of the ones that we do. We put placards up on a property when we find out, determine it is unsafe, and unfortunately people have to move out immediately because it's not safe for habitation. So we require that they move out immediately, and then we give the owners 30 days to bring the property up to code, or 30 days to get the permit, 60 days to bring it up to code. Now they have to be maintaining work on it all during that time, try to bring it back up before it can be able to be occupied again.
Well, how does the city go about demolishing a dilapidated home?
Well, we utilize the State Public Nuisance Act. If we go out and determine a property is not feasible for repair, and we're talking about structures here in this particular part, but we have independent contractors go out and do an evaluation if they're not feasible for repair, which is usually beyond, I think the law requires 50%, but we try to go 60 to 65% to make sure it is beyond feasible for repair. And then we declare it a public nuisance, and we take it to the city council. Upon their approval, it'll be declared a public nuisance, and then we have sent notices out. We notice the owners, responsible parties, and we try to get them to comply. And if they're not able to do it, could be out-of-town owners, owners deceased, that sort of thing. The city will move forward and demolish the property or abate the nuisance at the owner's expense.
Well, tell us exactly how many of these citations, if you will, do you get?
Well, I think
on a monthly
we've
basis?
got that in the past year. We've got, I think, about 10 that we have actually noticed. We've demolished, I believe, 7, and we've got 2 or 3 more that we're working on right now. So it's not something we do all the time, but it just seems like with the way the economy's gotten, and properties have sort of not been feasible for repair as much as we'd like. When they're left abandoned like that, then we have to go ahead and demolish the properties.
We do have some areas that have absentee landlords. Of course, that's throughout the city, if I'm not mistaken. It's all over the city, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you handle that?
Well, let me back up just a little bit. We have 15 different ordinances that we enforce. We're charged with enforcing ordinances for unsafe buildings, as I mentioned. Excuse me, the minimum standard housing code, which deals with minimum maintenance, minor electrical, painting, that sort of thing, minor plumbing, grass, weeds, swimming pools, fences. Of course, junk and litter deals with inoperable vehicles too, so we'll get a lot of those calls. And that's just a few of the 15, but we send out notices for each one of those ordinances when we find a violation, and unfortunately, as you said, they come back a lot of times to us, return mail, or they're absentee landlords, they're out of town, they may have inherited a property. A lot of foreclosures, the way the housing market's been. Fortunately, it's coming back now, we're seeing less, but the absentee landlords, if they're within the state of Alabama, we still have jurisdiction. So if it came down to it, we will notice them, and hopefully we'll get cooperation out of them. And we're finding out more and more information that's available with the mortgage companies that are the biggest part of the absentee owners. They're out of state. We try to get notices out to them, and a lot of the mortgage companies, we'll see, especially the bigger ones, are coming back now sending us letters saying, hey, we've got agents in your area that we try to help maintain these properties, because if we've taken them back over through the process of a mortgage foreclosure, we know we own them, we want to maintain them, and they're just sitting there deteriorating. So they've gotten smarter and gotten on board with us, and they contact us more. We're getting a lot better results now from the absentee landlords, but there's still going to be a certain amount that we deal with, and that's one of the biggest obstacles we face through code. We don't have a responsible party. It doesn't fit the criteria for a public nuisance abatement, so unfortunately, we just have to make sure that they're secured, and we have a crew that cuts grass. We send grass notices. If they're not maintained, then after 14 days, we can have our crew cut them and assess a lien against the property if the bill's not paid.
Of course, during this time of year, high grass, you get a lot of calls for high grass, do you not?
We do. We issued last year a total of, through our department, close to 12,000 notices.
Oh, my goodness.
That's not including the area inspections that we do, but about half of those are going to be grass. And I have 5 inspectors that go out and have the city broken down in 5 areas, and they answer complaints from our phone calls or see-click fix, however they may come in. And then our goal is for each one of the inspectors to patrol the area once every 30 days. This time of year, we don't always make it, but overall, that's our goal. And by the time you patrol your area 30 days and answer complaints, the grass will grow back up again.
Sure.
And especially in light of all the rain we've had. So
Oh my goodness,
it's hard for them to keep up, but then we have to maintain the properties as far as the housing code goes, keep up with that, and then we get calls about unsafe. Fire department sends us fire reports when they've had a fire damaged property, so we go back in and inspect it and make sure that nobody's living in it if it's not safe. Then it makes sure it's brought back up to code, and also we get calls from police department. They could have something they're called out on a report where there's crime going on there. Sometimes we'll get a property where they've had a drug bust, and the HPD goes in, checks it out, and they say, hey, this property is well below standard. They call us in, we go out and do an inspection, put the placards up. Not only does that ensure it'll be brought back up to code, but along with HPD, they're the front runner. We come in and try to, assist them if we can. We put placards up on it, condemn it. That way it can't be occupied again. It takes care of the illegal activity there.
If the properties are not brought into compliance within the allotted time that you all give, what recourse do people have?
Well, first of all, what we try to accomplish is what we call voluntary compliance. We have 5 area inspectors and 5 compliance officers. The compliance officers are the one that take the next step if the property isn't brought into compliance. And we try to work with the public as much as we possibly can. Mm-hmm. We also offer on our notices, there's on each notice it shows where, excuse me, it explains to the owners how they can apply for additional time, and it will go in front of the Housing Board of Adjustments and Appeals, which meets the first Tuesday of every month to give the people an opportunity to apply for additional time in hardship cases, which would be sickness, could have a death in the family, people get injured, get laid off, don't have funding, that sort of thing. So the board will consider all those and provide additional time. Our last recourse, we have environmental court every Wednesday with Judge Sonny Rodenhauser. He's a great judge. He's fair. He's firm.
Sure.
Passionate, and we do have to issue citations. Unfortunately, sometimes when the property's not brought up to code, some people don't want to cooperate, but for the most part, things are pretty good as far as cooperation.
For the most part, you get good cooperation from the community.
Right, but we do have to cite them to court, and then all things considered, if they're found guilty, then the judge can assess fines and court costs to the responsible parties. But like I said, that's our last resort. That's not what we're trying to accomplish.
Sure,
here.
exactly.
We want to use opportunities like this where I come on this show, we talk to you we want to educate the public and let them understand that we're out there to benefit them and to try to help improve their neighborhoods, so as not to say, hey, we're just going to run out there and write you a ticket to court, because that's not what we're about, and that's not what we want to keep a positive attitude within the community.
Well, I have to commend both of you for all the work that you do in this department, because and I was excited about the fact that you agreed to come on, because sometimes community development is one of the most misunderstood departments that I have found in my 20-some-odd years with the city. You all do an awful lot for the community, and both in helping the public, and also you have to sometimes cite them, for if they're not in compliance. But nonetheless, give us a telephone number in case our public needs to contact you.
Okay, our main number is 256-427-5400.
Okay, and that number will get them to?
That would get them to the community development receptionist, and she will ask a few questions and direct you to the responsible party of who you need to talk with.
Okay, great, great, great. Well, my producer is telling me our time is coming to an end. Let's again repeat that telephone number for our viewing audience.
Okay, it's 256-427-5400.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today, and I'm sure that our public has learned an awful lot about what community development does. Please join us again next week for more of Inside Huntsville. I'm Brenda Martin. Thank you for joining us.